Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Airsoft Radio. I'll be honest, it's been 2 weeks since we've done the show now. But we've had another week off as well on top of that. So recently, it's been crazy. I've kind of even forgotten everything I'm doing in the intros. So it's time to kind of remember where I am, what we're doing.
I feel your pain, buddy. I feel your pain.
I already sound like I'm dying before we've got there. But guys and girls, welcome to Airsoft Radio. It is your weekly Airsoft show, talking all things Airsoft, whether it's news, opinions, and just some general discussions. I'm Graham from Airsoft Nation, and with me, as always, are my two co-hosts. We have Platoon Jim, just here on my right.
Good evening.
And, of course, Sarah, a.k.a. Callsign Tactiquin, down there below me.
Hello.
And our special guest of the evening, the most famous one of the cast here. It is Andy from the Chairsofter show. Welcome to the show, mate.
What up, buddy? How's it going?
It's all good. I'll get through the intro here, hopefully, before the voice stops. I believe we are on now episode 21, around about there. We keep dropping it. But guys and girls, if it is your first time watching the show, welcome. We go live every single Monday at 8 p.m. GMT on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you are watching live right now, don't forget you can join in the comments like so many of you here are already doing. Give us your opinion, throw in your thoughts on the discussion. It's going to be probably a good debate today about Airsoft and social events. It'll be really good to hear your opinion. And if you are also watching on the replay or listening to the podcast, don't forget you can definitely still either leave a comment on the show or drop an email afterwards. And if you can't even watch live right now, don't forget there is that podcast on iTunes or your favorite Android podcasting platform. With that, let's get straight in on the show. Guys, it's very good to hear from so many people, actually. Chat is going absolutely mental, so I'll be putting that up there right now. Sarah, how are you recovering from the weekend?
Well, the older I get, the longer it takes to recover from so much. I think I've had my limit for the year in drink, but no, it was good. It was yay, Brewdog. But no, it was good. I didn't end up playing in the end. I went with the intent to play, and it ended up just being a massive social for me. So yeah, I didn't have any voice yesterday morning, and I was like, I need that McDonald's. Let's get packed up. I need to go get that McDonald's. So the first one we came to was just, I don't know which McDonald's you were at, but I was at the first one.
I think we were at the second one, weren't we?
Yeah, that's it. That was like, right, we just need to get off home. It was a long old one. Obviously, Andy, you were at the show as well. So how are you feeling today?
I'm good, mate. Do you know what? That is the nicest shower I've ever had in my life. After that weekend, it was so grim. I got back yesterday, I was just like, I think like if I walk through the house, things are going to start sticking to me. It was that hot and sweaty over the weekend. Like no amount of wet wipes can clean you up. Festival showers don't work.
Yeah, it was definitely a hot and sweaty one. And Jim, obviously, you wasn't at National Airsoft Festival, but you did have a busy weekend.
Feel like I was there.
Yeah, and it's not the smell that's just coming through virtually, huh?
No. I think pretty much if you turned on Facebook over the weekend, you got a virtual fucking tour of that event. And nobody seemed to be playing Airsoft.
Yeah, from what I heard, it was a virtual tour of the bar.
Yeah.
Just constant pictures of everyone's beers all lined up, and
it probably held like the world record for the number of selfies taken at a single day. I'm surprised the internet didn't fucking break.
I felt really bad for not putting a lot on social media over the weekend. I mean, I opened my Facebook.
You, Graham.
Yeah, I opened my Facebook and was like, great that nobody would have missed anything. It's everywhere. Where are you this weekend, Jim? There were more events than just NAE on over the weekend.
There was. But I was down at Ace Combat, which was a really nice, relaxed, chilled atmosphere. They were sort of at full capacity as they normally are, and I just got to sit out in the sun and pedal some stuff.
Yeah, I'd say it's been a scorcher this weekend. So
I think they
I
said it was
hadn't
the
noticed.
record hottest temperature for an August bank holiday, didn't they?
I would say bank holidays normally
Yeah.
mean rain, so it has been nice.
Yeah.
And it looks like everyone else seems to be jumping on getting Mackie D's after NAE.
Oh yes.
They'll be reporting record profits, I think.
I just didn't fancy the 45-minute wait for a fry up again on a Sunday.
Yeah, that was a bit soul destroying Saturday morning.
It's the paper
Yeah.
fucking straws. That's the bit that does my head in.
Well, no, the breakfast queue on Saturday, it was the fact that we got there and it was like me and Graham get our numbers 89 and 90, and then they called like 57 or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we've got a long time till our food turns up.
Yeah, I was going to say the queues in that front was pretty good. But before we go into that, obviously it was NAE. Jim, you've been to one before, right?
Many moons ago.
Many moons ago, huh?
Yeah.
Sarah, this was your second or third?
Yeah, my
was it?
second. Yeah, I went
Your
2
second.
years ago. Yeah.
And you went to play, although you didn't play. Jim, I presume you played at you're the one that you went to.
Oh yes, that was a fuck fest.
This was my second. This is the first time I went camping only. And 2 years ago I went as a player. And then Andy, someone who's been against it for many years of discussions.
Yeah.
So I remember 2 years ago trying to convince you to go then. You went for your first ever time this year.
I did. I did
so
play. However,
you did play.
I need to get it out there now that I only played for 2 hours. Otherwise, Chris and Tage are going to destroy me if I don't get that in.
I think you probably still beat the average from most players from that weekend.
Yeah, they were saying that people were coming in after about 45 minutes, weren't they?
That is an expensive ticket.
Yeah.
To be honest, on the Saturday morning, when all the players were filtering out into the field, not everyone went. Everyone was still waiting for food. They were still having drinks. Everyone was taking their time.
Yeah.
So I think when the actual game started, not everyone was there anyway.
You just described every Airsoft event ever. Doesn't have to be NAS. No one was there on time. Everyone was late to the safety brief. The burger van still had a queue.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was a very laid back event, and I think because of the heat as well, it was even more laid back. Everyone was flat on their faces.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised you had people coming in after about half an hour with the way some of them went out in their loadouts. Like some of them were just, you're going to die. You really. Graham was saying to me, I'd die because I had my plate carrier and that was it, and I stupidly forgot to take the harness for my VX system. But hey ho, you live and learn. I've got a chest rig today, so I'm prepared for next time.
You got to wait a whole year.
Watch it fucking rain next year and like be like hypothermic.
Well, apparently it did last year, didn't it? It was completely rained off.
Yeah, I think it was last Sunday was the worst day of it all. But for anyone who doesn't know about National Airsoft Festival, it's probably worth starting there. It is the kind of the annual event ran at Ground Zero. It is the largest event in the UK for Airsoft. This year we were looking, I think it was around about 2,600 players had kind of signed up. Let's share my screen here and just show a video in the background here. So you're talking about 2,600 people there camping, playing, drinking, and socializing. Andy, as someone as first time going there, without describing your experience from this year, what was your thoughts going into it and what had you heard? Because I think this is always the interesting one of what people hear prior to the event.
Well, all you hear, we've all seen the stories about it online, I'm sure. If you haven't, you will. All you hear about the gameplay is that people cheat non-stop. But then again, I suppose that could describe any other game day you go to. You're always going to find it, to be honest, aren't you? So you hear all the horror stories about the gameplay. People say go for the social because that's what it's all about. And to be fair, the social was spot on. But I've got to be honest, I actually sort of enjoyed the gameplay side of it as well for the 2 hours I was out. Had a laugh. Tim abused me for not staying out longer and coming in and getting an ice cream to cool down. But yeah, like you hear all the horror stories. So I was going in, I thought, well, I'll take my kit to play. The worst that can happen is I go out have a crap time, and then just go back and get drunk anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's a good experience. It's well run. Haven't been there now. The organisation and the background is spot on, to be fair, when like booking in and stuff. So yeah, I'm trying not to go into too much detail, otherwise I'll give everything away at the very start of the episode.
No, generally for this event, everyone arrives on the Friday. It's a case of pitching tents up, socialising, a big second-hand sales area. People just everywhere selling stuff, and some people I was seeing was selling, several grand's worth of several grand of sales they took over the weekend, which was awesome to see. And then obviously you have the signing in process, which was relatively smooth. I'm sure Jim's seen some horrendous signing in processes from the sites you've been to over the years. But I mean, for 2,000 players coming in there, I don't think we really saw the queue any longer than about an hour tops.
Yeah.
Which would seem long, but over a space of a day, it's not actually that bad.
Yeah.
Chronoing.
I was going to say, so people queued longer than they played.
Yeah. Well, in some cases, probably, yeah.
I was told that later on the Friday, people were queuing for an hour to sign in. But when I got there, 11 o'clock, there was a huge queue for the others. There was like a couple of people for Delta and Bravo. And then someone said to me behind, "Are you with the others?" And I said, "Yeah," and he'd been in the wrong queue the whole time. So poor guy. But
that's like me and Andy for the breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just stood there waiting for breakfast to get to the front, and the guys were standing there in front of us, and we didn't realize they'd already paid and had a number which they were waiting to be called at.
Yeah.
And it kind of got like 10 minutes in. And I'm saying to Andy, I'm like, do you think we got the wrong number because nobody's got the wrong queue because nobody's going to the till yet? And they turn around like, yeah, we're not in the queue. We're just waiting for our orders. We ordered. It's like, fuck's sake. The other thing, chronoing. A lot of people, well, some people say it just took as quick as a minute to go queue in to sign in. I suppose it doesn't depend on when you got there. You obviously got 2,000 people over the Friday or Saturday morning. Chronoing as well. Obviously, they do chrono all your guns using their ammunition. Again, it's one of those things that the queue didn't seem that bad, and they were pretty quick on it. And I always think it's impressive to see a site do, chrono 2,000 players, yet a site can't chrono 50 players and say it takes too much time for their marshals to do it. But the guys seem to just nail through that. The only thing I would say, they don't account for dual creep on sniper rifles or HPA builds or anything like on that respect. You are just chrono with a .2.
And I think I took a couple that were a little bit on the warm side out of something that was full auto on the Saturday. Less bruises.
I literally just walked into the chrono, to be honest. And that was, but I went straight, after signing straight to the chrono, walked straight in.
I mean,
but they were being really quick with it.
So, you come down with me, Graham, didn't you? And I think, really, we were chronoed and signed in within the space of about 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, it took me longer to sign in. I'm signing in camping only. So I know I'm not getting all the kind of the goodie bags, the stickers, the patches, the hats, or anything else. All I'm doing is going there, getting a wristband. I stood in the queue, and there was 2 people in front of me, and I was like, great, this will be quick. And then the guys in front went, yeah, we're from team. I can't remember the team name. And she went, okay, how many of you? And he's like, 36. And there's literally from outside the queue was a group of people, and they all walked over. And I was like, I've gone from 2 people to 36 people in the queue. And then it was like, are you paying all by cash or by card? So now you've got 36 people holding cards and cash and waving it all around. And it's like, holy crap, what I thought was going to be 2 people in and out of the queue was a heck of a load longer in that respect. I was like, God damn it. And they're all in the queue going, oh, look, I got my cap, I got my patch, I got this. And I was like, just get out the way. I just need a wristband so I can chill and open up a beer. We were sitting there, people there are in the area now saying that it took them. Some people were quick on the chrono. Some were definitely a lot longer on the chrono. Some people walked straight in. So it's kind of good to see here. And there's been feedback of people saying the chrono seem to be a little bit lower than their usual chronos. I think you're kind of always going to get that with these type of chronos that are used. especially if we don't know what the battery power is like, because they seem to be very dubious on different battery powers.
Mm.
Jim, you've used a lot of chronos over the years. Do you find that? Is there something about you?
Literally, sometimes you just have to turn them off and reboot them as well. You know, you put enough shots through it, and it just seems some of them seem to start getting a bit confused, and you get sort of different readings out of them. And yeah, it's I don't think any system's perfect. So yeah,
No, that's it. I've got my Ace Tech here, and whenever I use it, I always plug a battery in the back, so it's fully charged, 100%. So at least that's some sort of accurate reading to me, is the fact that I always do that with every time I use it.
I mean, where possible,
obviously.
I always try and use 2 chronos as well, because
Yeah,
that can make a massive difference, and especially if you're not sure, like if you've just done a build or something like that, and you're not sure what it's doing, it can be and some of the older chronos as well just don't account for different weights, different joules of energy and all that sort of stuff as well. So
Also, as well, I don't know, because I know it matters what weight you're using. They never asked me what weight I was using before I used
No.
the chrono. So there's all different weights going through it, because they didn't ask me, so I just assumed they weren't bothering asking anyone.
well,
what
that's
size
it, 'cause they chronoed with 0.2s, didn't they? Everyone got chronoed with 0.2s. They're checking that you're below 350 FPS or whatever on a 0.2. But yeah, that dual creep could have easily brought it up on for certain builds for sure.
Yeah,
But with 2,000 plus players, it's pretty seamless. To think 4 years ago they weren't chronoing at all. It's a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, it's no mean feat getting 2,000 people through a chrono.
No, that's it. Yeah, exactly. And we've all been to events where they've gone, don't worry, we're chrono on the field, we're spot check, or it takes too much time to chrono in the morning. We've got to get that first game out of the way.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
I won't say
Go
when or where it was, but I was at a site once, and the site owner was so pissed off that the chrono was taking so long. He literally picked up a customer's gun, pointed it in a safe direction to fire it, and he went, "Yeah, that's fine." Gave it to the It was like, "Yeah, I can pretty much just do it by eye." Okay.
Yeah, and that's it. But on the whole, I think the process was pretty well done. I mean, obviously, Friday nights, pistol and shotgun nights. I know a lot of people didn't even bother with that. A lot of people don't. It's just social straight from there. I mean, game day starts on the next day. From a social point of view, obviously, a lot of alcohol goes through the weekend.
Yeah.
One of the biggest comments that I tend to make and get given to me is alcohol and airsoft don't tend to mix.
Yeah.
And I'm very much waiting for a certain person who didn't go to the show to be using this as a reason why they don't go to the show.
Yeah.
What's everyone's thought on this? Because obviously you don't want to be kind of the boring one to say we shouldn't have alcohol, but equally people shouldn't be on the field completely rat-assed. What's everyone's thoughts on a social event that does now obviously include airsoft and playing on the field the next day?
Who wants to start? I
Well-
guess I've drawn a short straw there, haven't I? Yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's don't be a dick. You've got to know your limits. There were some people who were absolutely smashed, paralytic, everything. I won't name names. Graham had to save certain people.
Yes, we won't mention names.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, there's going to be people drinking. We've been to events before where they've allowed a little bit of a barbecue and a few beers in the evening, but they say if they feel you're not fit to play the next day, don't play. But at the end of the day, you're relying on something that is honesty based with airsoft in general. So it's player knowing that they're not fit enough to go out in the field. Let's be honest, I was umming and ahhing at first, but I figured out I was all right, and you guys would have said something to me if I weren't anyway on the Saturday morning when we got up and I got kitted up ready to go. So it was like, let's go. I feel fine. I can walk in a straight line just about. So, yeah, I mean, really and truthfully, you've got to know your limits at the end of the day and just don't be stupid with it. If people start abusing it, it's going to get the airsoft taken away. And then there won't be any more NAF.
Jim, I know you've done many social events, and I'm sure there've been many beers shared before airsoft. What's your thoughts on it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I heard he's teetotal.
Absolutely. Oh, look at that.
Oh, it's vodka in that.
now I look like the alcoholic.
No, I don't have an issue with it at all. And I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I haven't played with a steaming hangover. And you know, in the past, you know, we all do stuff that's maybe a bit silly. I just think that like, the problem you get with it is that there will always be people that take it too far. There's always that one person that ends up having to be scooped up off the floor. And I think sometimes sites should maybe put a bit of a limit on how much that social goes on. I mean, like I don't know what time the bars closed at NAF, or if they closed at all, or what the deal was with it. But you'd hope that anyone that's running a sensible event would turn around and go, right, you know, enough's enough. But then obviously it doesn't stop people bringing their own and sitting in their tent like a little sado getting drunk. But yeah, I don't understand the whole NAF thing of people that just go there just to get pissed. It's like we invented these things called pubs and nightclubs for that. Yeah, there are people that literally I've heard come up to me and go, you know, I'm going to NAE and I'm going to get pissed. And like, surely you're going to go to NAE to go and play Airsoft. And then if you're too rat-ass to go and play Airsoft, then what's the point of going?
Yeah. Even then, you can sort of sober up by the middle of the afternoon anyway, couldn't you? And get out and still get some Airsoft in rather than just thinking, do you know what I'm going to do? Start again.
Take some man the fuck up pills and get on with it.
Yeah.
But like the sole reason for going is just to go and get drunk. That's the bit that baffles me.
Well, obviously, I went not to play at all. I wouldn't say I went there just to get smashed and forget my name. For me, there's definitely the social side. But there is an element of knowing I'm going and all my budget instead of playing was on booze. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I get the fact that you could obviously take that anywhere. Sarah, what's your thoughts, especially since you two were on the field or going on the field, to know what your thoughts were? Yeah, exactly.
And then, well, drink happened, you know. But personally, I can't actually play if I've had a skinful the night before because I just won't play well. I know I won't play well enough to actually enjoy it, and I'd get ratty pretty quick. When I spoke to one of the organisers, he did say that he's not entirely happy with the fact that the drink goes on all day. But at what point do you start telling people you can't drink until a certain time or until after the game's over? When people have come literally just to socialise and meet people they maybe have only known online or only speak to or only see, you know, once in a blue moon.
Yeah, I was going to say their bar was serving shots at 10 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah, who was it that ordered a slushy Jaeger bomb or something like that?
I feel really bad for serving alcohol. How many shots would you like with that?
Yeah, but it's the personal, you know, check yourself. Do you know what I mean? If you're falling all over the place and you're trying to get your chest rig on and you're trying to fucking load your gun, you're going to get noticed and you're going to get told by a marshal, get the fuck out of here. Go and sit down somewhere.
I think there's a difference between playing hungover and playing pissed.
Yeah.
You know, if you are still drinking and going out and playing that, I mean, that should just be a big no-no in general. You know?
Yeah. This is the thing, but unfortunately, when you've got so many players there, it's a tough thing to enforce as well, isn't it? Because short of breathalyzing pretty much everyone who steps onto that field, which then
not a bad shout.
Yeah, it's just it's a good
it's a double chrono.
It's the double chrono.
Can you point into this and blow into this?
Well, your breath needs to be 0.2 grams to pass.
I'm sorry, you're 1.4 joules. You can't play.
Yeah.
I know one Airsoft girl. She was planning on playing the entire time she went to the shotgun game on the Friday night. She played all day Saturday. She played all day Sunday. And I was with her and we were all drinking together and she was not going for it. She was being sensible with it. So there are those who want to play all day every day and they're not gonna get smashed with it.
Well done. This one's to you.
I think Jim said that perfectly. If you're drinking of an evening and then playing next day hungover, it's more acceptable. If you're having a shot and then going out on the field, the site should have been cutting that one off. And I'm sure they have. I'm not saying they didn't. But I think that's a good way to say it. And, you know, Ian Maxwell has just said, if you're drinking and there's no gaming. Gaz Perkins said, once you start drinking, you shouldn't be able to pick up a riff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I mean, if you're at the bar and you see someone fully loaded up with their kit in the morning, ready to go out, and they're like, yeah, can I have, you know, 3 shots of Sambuca and a slush puppy to go, please? Maybe that would be a totally different situation, you know?
Yeah, we don't talk about Sambuca.
Tim Matthews is saying it was more concerning was the heat, the booze, and then people going down because they weren't drinking enough water. Obviously, that is definitely something to be wary of for the people who were steaming.
So one of the things I'd suggest with all that, though, and it's a really simple fix, and they do it in the States when you go onto, like, ranges that have got bars on there. And when you book in, they give you a wristband. And the moment you go to the bar, if you order a drink, they cut your wristband off, and that prevents you going back on the range. And that's, like, the simplest way of stopping stupid behaviour like that. If people have had a drink, then they shouldn't be going out and playing. And the person behind the bar who's, like, without getting too sort of, you know, into it, but that person that serves you is the person that's responsible at that point for your condition, and they should turn around and take your player band off and prevent you from playing. Yeah.
I mean, that would work perfectly if you were at an indoor arena or an event like that. When you're at a festival, when, you know, at our tent, we had 40 beers waiting in a nice, cool ice box. Good job, Andy.
Yeah. That was I've left that outside, actually. The box was drying out.
But that wouldn't stop that, would it? You would never be able to control what you're drinking outside of the arena. And
yeah, but then a marshal standing at the arena gates should be able to sort of speak to someone and go, I think you've had a drink.
Yeah, I think you're very much all over the place as you're walking through.
I mean, anyone that turns up with a HPA gun has clearly been drinking beforehand.
That when they bought it, or was that when they're going to play with it?
No comment. I already feel like someone's going to make a video of this one where it's like, Jim says drinking is allowed.
Yeah, exactly.
Some fucking useless YouTubing cunt. I'm sorry. I'm in a fight.
I thought Sarah was the savage one.
Why? I didn't do anything.
You should see me when I've had my nails done.
I was quiet now. I don't know what you were talking about.
Can anyone else smell bullshit right now?
If you're offended by the comments in today's show, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I've got to say, though, it was nice to see random guy Kev joining us in the bar, flying all that distance from America just to come and have a beer.
I know.
We've even got photographic evidence. So it was on Instagram, so it clearly happened, and it 100% wasn't photoshopped.
Yeah, everything on social media is the total truth, you know.
I've got to say though, for the fact, I mean, we were at the bar a lot of the time. Not saying there's a problem or anything like that, but we were definitely there. We were definitely there more than the average person, I would say, and we left there pretty late both nights. It was pretty well mannered. I'd say. I don't think there was anyone to the point, you know, I was a bit worried when they started lighting the fires outside, and I was like, how long until we see some airsoft? I think they can jump, you know, the ring of fire across the camp. But it seemed to be pretty well behaved.
Yeah.
See, my brain goes a different way at that point. I'd be like, right, when does the lipo come out? Always some dickhead.
Yeah. When's the next can of gas going on there?
Yeah, exactly. I've got this CO2 capsule. Boom.
Apparently, a can of gas did actually explode, but someone left it out.
Someone left one in their tent, and it heated up to the point it went off. Yeah, there's a video in a few of the Facebook groups already of what was left after the can went off in his tent through his table and left a bit of skin on the outside of the of the shell.
Well, it shows how hot it gets inside those tents, because I left my case and all the labels have sort of started peeling away, haven't they? All the labels that Newprol glued onto it have started to come away, where it was just in the sun a little bit and it was just in the tent. It was hot.
Yeah, what's worse, those Newprol guns also melted away as well.
Oh,
I'm kidding. Love you,
Nothing
Daddy.
wrong with him. Well done.
I,
Someone make a video out of him. Well, that's
Yeah.
all. Man. Someone make a video out of him.
It's all Graham's fault.
There goes
can
that
all have
sponsorship.
nice things until, yeah. I mean, you've got enough things going on at the moment anyway with your guest appearances.
But on top of the social, obviously there was for this year. What was the biggest thing? I didn't even get into the arena before, into the main area and sign in before one of the players approached me and was like, "Have you seen the marquee yet?" This year was the first year that 01 didn't occupy the main marquee with their entire shop, essentially. So ahead of the event, they break down their main shop, set it all up in the huge marquee, and it's like a paradise for impulse buyers as soon as you walk in the tent.
Yeah.
Whereas this year, it was rather lackluster, and a lot of people were very much, disappointed that it was happening. At least we knew ahead of time. Sarah, you've been before. What was your thoughts on the fact that there was only really one small wall of guns on the whole route on the rail there?
Well, when I went last time, obviously they had the big tent, and it was something else to do.
Yeah.
Other than get on the beers, but it was just another thing. It was like, what should we do? Well, we'll go around the shop again. I mean, I didn't necessarily buy much, but it was just nice to walk about and discuss all the different guns on show, and maybe look to or maybe that'll be my next buy and get it in your mind about it and see it. And that's the first time I saw one of the miniguns. Which I'd really wanted to see. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a bit sad just walking in there, and it was just like a quarter of what it was the last time I went. So, I hope they bring it back next year because it's something else to do, and it just makes the weekend a bit more interesting apart from playing and drinking and a bit of eating on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, you haven't seen it previously, but what was your thoughts when you went in there? Obviously, what was weird, they had it all netted off this year. I don't know if it was I think they were saying it was a security reason, so no one could come in and steal stuff of an evening. But what did you think?
I mean, it said it was consumables that were on sale, so I was a bit surprised to see that they did have riffs on show in the first place.
Right.
But I mean, like we were discussing just yesterday, if there had been a shop there, I probably would have ended up buying something and walking out over there with a new riff of some kind. So beneficial for my wallet. But yeah, you know it, Sarah.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a problem at the moment where I can't walk into a shop and leave without something.
Well, I think that in itself tells us that we'll find out whether next year 01 they've lost enough money on the day to justify bringing it back in there. Unless a load of people order this week and they go, oh, well, everything's here in the shop and now we're ready to sell.
Yeah, because this was the thing. They did have the online, they did have the computer that you could
Oh,
go
they
and
had a
order stuff
sad old little Dell in the corner of the marquee where you could buy things and they'd deliver it to you. It was a small little machine. I was like, there was like a queue of 2 people sitting there. I really would like to say that I don't think that'll work. James is saying it's because they were setting up their new shop. But I think there's an element of it takes them days to break down a shop to bring it there or to bring all the stock there, then days after to bring the stock back. I mean, that's a lot of time, potentially a lot of lost orders if you haven't got it there. But yeah, as he's right, there is the new shop starting as well. So that could also be a way thrown into it. And then obviously, but beyond that, we did have for the first year, Viper were there actually selling. Which was kind of new to Viper. Obviously, they used to sell into traders and to retailers, essentially, to actually jump in and sell to the players. But Andy, obviously, you've now got 2 loadouts.
Yeah, soon to have 4.
Soon to have 4 loadouts of Viper, the new VX stuff.
The VX stuff, which I've got to say is good. It's a really good system, and I absolutely love it. I've got them just the other side of them, actually, but yeah, they're great bits of kit.
I'll say mine's on the wall there, right behind me.
Mine is that way somewhere. So, yeah, I absolutely love the kit, and just I'm telling people to buy it all the time at the moment because it's so versatile. And it was, I mean, the only reason I really got it in the first place was because I needed something for the Ronin mags, the TK45, because there's not a lot out there you can get those mags into. And funnily enough, when I was at Combat UK buying it, they said, just have a look, see if this works for you. And I was like, well, that's perfect for what I need. And then, of course, I decided to go all out. And I do regret not taking the harness for the weekend because, as Graham can tell you, I came off, I took that plate carrier off and my T-shirt was drenched. It was like... It's like I jumped in the paddling pool that was just on the way to our tent on the way back.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was good to see them there and actually selling stuff. Because like you said, when you see them in the past, it's just been a stand going, oh, this is our stuff. And I've been to events that they've been to before where you don't see a lot of people go over to it.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're actually there showing off the kit, saying, yep, have a look. And then you've got people walking around with it as well, which is sort of like walking advertising.
Yeah, I would say Viper's been worn by loads of players over the weekend. It's great to see a lot of people really enjoying the new utility rig. Jim, as someone who sells Viper, what's your thoughts on the loads out this year?
Well, I did have to go and buy a set, didn't I?
Did you?
Yeah, and I bought it back in May. I got the VCAM set, the same as what you got hanging on the door there, and it's wicked stuff. It's it's a step up from their older stuff, and it's really good. It's one of those things where it's like you can't say enough about them, but also you don't want to say too much because it's just one of those things where you want to put it in someone's hands and go, wear it, see what you think.
Yeah.
Because no one believes you how good it is until they actually wear it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And the price point is just
amazing. That chest rig for like under 35 quid is just amazing.
Yeah. Couldn't agree. I think Sarah, you're also rocking the utility rig as well, the chest rig as well, aren't you?
No, my husband's got it.
Oh, sorry, your Richard's got it.
Yeah, no, he wanted something to fit his Evo mags.
Oh, Evo, yeah.
He wanted, so those inserts.
I love the way you say Evo with such contempt. It's just like, oh, Evo.
Over the whole weekend, I kept saying Sarah had the Evo, and it's like, no, that's my husband's. So even she's distancing herself from the Evo at that point. Have you, Richard? So he's in the chat there. But yeah, obviously, so this year we had Viper in there. Airsoft Action had their stand as usual. Take from Kydit's Customs were there. We had Contact Coffee there. A lot more little stands, but not a huge amount. There wasn't a lot there. The market itself looked kind of empty because a few of the stands were in there. Actually, we're like, given the heat, we'd rather set our own stand up outside and get some fresh air. So it was cool to see some stands there, but I do think that what I noticed from 2 years ago, the atmosphere around the outside area was kind of lacking, unless it was the evening when everyone was at the pub or at the food counters. Around outside that tent, especially in the morning of the game day, when everyone would be buzzing ready for the game brief and start the day with Rich or H doing the announcement, there was no real central focus, where that marquee tended to be that kind of central point where everyone would go there in the morning, have a look around before waiting for the reading. And we're already seeing chants of others in the chat there from Lee. Obviously, the winners for the event.
But I know what you mean. There wasn't a terrible amount of hurry up and let's get out there and do it. So I don't know if maybe it's just because it was hot and everyone was hungover. I don't know.
Yeah,
but let's be honest, at every other airsoft event you go to, there's never any sort of real hurry up, let's get going.
It's like having cats into a bag.
I don't know if it's because I was actually, determined to play last time, but I remember there was a lot more excitement than this time.
Yeah, there's definitely. I think Kim split both. He's like the vibe was missing around the stalls area. There was just something lacking, and I think that's perfectly was saying that one there. Is like, we last or 2 years ago there was a lot of chanting, a lot of excitement. Where this year maybe the heat already sucks it out of everyone before they even got onto the field. But overall, I must say, I think organisation-wise the event went well. Food-wise and the social side was absolutely amazing. Great to finally spend some time with you, Sarah, and chatting with you. Catch up with Andy again after seeing too much of you in Scotland the week before. And a big shout out to plenty of players who were coming over to us. We also had Tim, his family, and Seamus, who we were camping with.
Yeah.
What was really cool, the amount of players that you haven't seen, or I haven't seen for years, coming up and chatting.
Yeah.
And we had some fans of Airsoft Radio coming over to us, especially in the pub, wasn't that right?
You lie. No one's a fan of this show.
Jim, you're becoming a favorite host of the show, Jim.
I doubt it.
I just don't want to tell you.
You're in the top 3 of the hosts of this show.
Damn it! I was going for number 4 again.
But yeah, I will say it was fantastic to meet a load of players, spotting Airsoft Nation patches, which was very humbling and appreciated around the safe zone, which was awesome. And then we had Attack Sense. Sorry, it was Attack Sense. Who had their newer targets out there, which I think, Jim, we should have a word with them and try and get some on the show to show them off. Because have you seen them yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if
cool.
you've seen them on show.
Yeah, they look cool. And they look like it'd be fun.
Yeah, they've got some really cool ideas. And maybe we should sort that out about coming on the show for sure. And then the Ukapu guys were there. It was overall a really good event. Sarah, did you get your EG top?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't buy your EG top?
Probably
I should have worn mine. Just to rub that salt in the wound.
When I set out to go somewhere, I end up bumping into someone, and then I forget, and then I get looking at something else, and then I end up somewhere else. And I didn't.
It was the NAE, not Narnia, right? It was.
Wow, that's debatable. Sometimes flashy shots and all that.
What did you say?
They were doing slushy shots.
Yeah, that was like Jaeger bomb slushies and stuff, Jim.
It's just irresponsible.
Yeah.
I can't condone behaviour, really.
This is when you put your hydration pack in under the slushy machine, don't you? Yep. And you just fill the whole lot up.
It's almost as irresponsible as buying shots for the table and ended up getting screwed over yourself because people don't want them.
Never buy shots for a table. Bad move. Bad move there. Yeah, you're definitely consuming more than us. So what would you say? What would you say? And definitely, if you are watching live, now jump in with the chat here. What would you say is kind of the essential thing that for these events to work? And do you think they should be part of the kind of the airsoft community? Are you for these social events, especially on the mass size of like the NAEs or the Airfests and stuff like that? Jim, what's your thoughts from someone who's come from airsoft when it was 10 of us in a room who only know each other Fight Club style, bring a friend along, to what we've got now?
That was pretty social.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing. You know, the events, like anything that promotes a community is a good thing. But I do think there's a fine line with it where it sort of starts to get out of hand. I get a little bit fed up of all like the sycophancy of it, you know, where it's sort of just kind of like, oh, I'm someone of note here that, you know, I have to be very, very careful because, again, otherwise I will just end up with another video. But yeah, it's just like, go to play airsoft. You know, to me, it's got to have that big ingredient into it. You bastard, Graham.
I wanted to get, if they're going to do it, at least do a high quality version. God damn it. Go on, sorry.
No, I'm done now. Just
lost his thread.
I've lost the plot completely. Don't think I ever had it. But no, yeah, it's just make it a bit more airsoft, you know. And it's like the weird thing, like seeing all the social media stuff from the weekend, is very little of it was actually about airsoft. It just seemed like camping with guns.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just that's a bit of a shame. I think it needs to at least be 75% airsoft, 25% social. Otherwise, you know, just again inviting everyone to come around for a barbecue and leave the guns indoors and just have a laugh that way.
And funny, that was my feedback for Airfest. My whole feedback from Airfest was that there seemed to be strippers and free booze, but no airsoft. And what I would say is maybe that's just more of a social media output than actually when they're out on the field, they're playing and therefore they're not taking the photos. But I think you're right. I was chatting with
So I
Bill
just want to
from-
go back to this Airfest thing. Are you sure it was Airfest that you went to? And
no, I didn't go to it. My wife looked at the
AIR,
photos
right.
and was like, "You call this an airsoft event? Yeah, try blag that you're going away for the weekend again with one of these photos."
I mean, I'm down for it. I'll go as your correspondent for next year.
I think you're right. I think we should stay true that there's still got to be the airsoft element for these, and I think NAE has to make sure they keep promoting airsoft, because if we all go for camping, that's a cheap £20 ticket as opposed to the £90 ticket for playing.
Yeah.
I would also make a suggestion that they don't call it the National Airsoft Festival, because every post was, "I'm at NAF." You know,
Yeah.
What was it? The NAF raffle.
I would say you had a raffle and it was like NAF raffle, and it was like, okay, that's not going to work. Raffle at NAF.
Yeah,
NAFL, as somebody comes
yes. Raffle NAF. I said sounds like something out of a bloody Dr. Seuss book, don't it?
And although they now call it NAF, even some of their own promotional posts said NAE. Their signposts around the whole event had NAE, except for the odd place.
And
So
the
even then,
says Ground Zero as well, which is
and
what I knew it as. You know?
Yeah, there is definitely a mixed match of what name it is on there.
Yeah, hire a marketing guy.
Richard's saying, is it not NAE? So it used to be called National Airsoft Event, NAE, and then was it about 2 years ago they renamed to National Airsoft Festival, and but they haven't really kind of gone all in on it. And obviously the site is Ground Zero. So yeah, there's a whole mismatch of what people know the name as there. And Jay's saying it was a pretty naff raffle though. Which,
it was. I didn't win. It's fair.
Neither did I.
Well, a lot of feedback came from players, and I will come back to you, Sarah and Andy, about what you think about these social events. We'll say a lot of players were saying how, and I won't call anyone out, but we're saying how Zero One seemed to go a little bit cheaper this year on stuff. So we had less toilets from what at least was accounts. I hope there wasn't a player counting them before making that assumption. But there seemed to definitely be less toilets. There were less goodies in the sign-up bags. There were less raffle prizes. In the pyrotechnics for the game on was like 3 firecrackers that you'd see on a side of a bonfire night, rather than anything crazy.
For me, because people had always said to me before, like, you've got to go just for the start of the game because, like, the pyro show is amazing. And then you see, like, all the videos from previous years, and you're like, actually, that does look like a pretty good way to sort of get you pumped up, get you going, get you into the game the minute they call game on. And this year, it's just sort of like, oh, is that it? Because people were saying, like, in previous years, you scared the crap out of them, you're jumping out your skin, and, like, it's just something to behold. And then it was sort of really underwhelming for me for a first timer after hearing so many good things about it.
Yeah, it was. It was rather lackluster. So it'd be interesting to see whether this is something that's happened or whether it's going to be whether there is a kind of a cost cutting exercise there.
But do you also think it's not because there's so many of these events now that are sort of nipping away at it, and suppliers and manufacturers are less inclined to keep giving more stuff away all the time because everyone's hitting them up for free stuff for these events and what have you. So sort of, I think it's kind of like law of diminishing returns with it a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good shout. If NAE aren't dipping out of their own pockets, are they? They're probably taking it from, like you say, from these sponsors and suppliers. So yeah, absolutely, that could be a perfect good point. I mean, we have seen the rise of social airsoft at home sites and local sites, and everyone who's got their own community of players hosting these events.
We went to one the week before when you think about it, because the depot, I think we were pretty much the only people. I almost said foreigners there. we
were the foreigners in Scotland.
Yeah, I suppose we were racially abused within 5 minutes in English. But because we were sort of the outsiders from the group, it was like, generally speaking, they were all regulars at that site, and I think sort of now you're seeing more and more of these events where it'll be like a group, a community that's built up around a group of people or whatever are going to these events now. Are people going to be less inclined to go to NAE or NAF or whatever they want to call it next year in future?
Yeah, I think NAF will always be, for at least for many years yet, the staple of the biggest event in the UK. And that's what some people want, that grandeur of the biggest event.
Yeah.
It's not about, I want to go for a weekend event. It's like, no, I want to go to the event. Like Borderlands is the event of the year for people across the pond. Well, over in Europe, I should say. And I think NAF will always be there, but I do think that these social weekenders from your home site, where you know the marshals and the teams and the players, and they do host their own events, will slowly but surely increase on those. Jim, of the sites that you guys work at and maintain it, do all of them do social events in the year?
Not all of them, but the Invicta did one this year. I think it was their third one. Reprops are doing their first one this weekend coming, which I'll be at that. And they're not trying to like duplicate any other event. They're trying to do it their own way and do their own thing. And I think like that's good. I almost think every site should have something for the regulars, as kind of like a site's way of giving back a little bit, saying thanks for supporting us, and we are our own little community within it. And it would almost be nice to see that those sites then take a lot of people to something like NAE. And so it's like all the different factions, if you will, are represented. I think that'd be quite a cool thing to sort of aim for. I mean, I'm sure it does happen. I'm sure there are.
I was going to say that a local site to me, which I won't mention, sent 26 players up there this year, which surprised me. The site letting their players leave them. But then you've also got...
As this is the throw people under the bus episode, clearly, Graham. What's the site? Do tell.
And what was really cool is Lincolnshire Airsoft Club, so Ian Lawrence, and he brought his team and his sites, and they every year they go down there. So not only that, you ever actually site operators a site and just saying, look, we're not running this weekend, we're going there, why don't you come along with us? So if Ian is watching, it was good to see their guys. Yeah, and I think you're right. It's a good way to have that together.
Yeah, it was nice to see Dave and Dazzy from Airsoft GB out as well, because I haven't seen them in ages, and it reminded me, oh, hang on, I haven't been to their site for a while, and to go back there and get a game in sometime. And it was good to chat and catch up with people that I hadn't seen for a while as well on the social side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but come on, I bet there was a load of people there as well where he was just like, oh, I wish they hadn't have come.
There was 26 for me.
In fact, there was one in the tent next to me with his bloody snoring going away all night. I'm looking at you, Tim.
So Sarah and Andy, coming back to that question before, is what do you think makes a good social, and your thoughts of NAF?
Personally, I don't think one huge game works. I just don't. I know, that it's a game you can dip in and out of all weekend. You can play if you want, if you don't fancy it. But I would personally like to see more sort of smaller mini games for maybe the people that don't want to do the huge game with, loads of people. More, I know there's a little CQB arena, but I would like to see sort of the map sort of sectioned off, and maybe have, smaller games, because I mean, I read what our team was supposed to be doing, the others, and it was basically getting voting slips in boxes dotted around the map. And of course, there were all these other little games of, get the drugs, get the gold, that sort of thing. How much can you get? Go and raid the other teams' amount that they got. But I heard there was only 200 slips, whereas the actual brief made it look like everyone would get a voting slip and you could try and get it in that box.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So not everyone could join in that. And then, of course, if you didn't get back to the commander quick enough, you didn't take part in the mini games. If you didn't,
special missions that were going
so
on.
Unless you were quick enough, not everyone probably got to join in all the little bits that from the safety brief that I read and the brief for the team would seem quite exciting. But if the games had been sectioned up smaller, then everyone would probably be able to get stuck in.
So it's
just like Airsoft Brexit, though.
Yeah.
Get all these voting slips and then everyone can disagree with it.
It was about trying to swing an election, but there was no mention of who you're voting for. So
yeah.
So yeah,
I'd like exactly like Brexit.
Why? Say Tim Matthews, I presume a local to Ground Zero, says that's their thing though. Ground Zero run the Sunday games roll as one continuous game. And I suppose if you're not local to that site, I suppose it's the same way that Imperium tend to run for a full day. If you don't know that,
yeah, but there's not that amount on a normal game day. There's not that amount of players, is there?
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there should just be more focus on the buying, the selling, and the socialising. Because I mean, you can go to an Airsoft weekender or a Milsom, and it's just Airsoft all weekend. There's plenty of those to choose from. We're quite lucky that we've got a lot in the UK. But this, I think, is the big social. I mean, I met so many people I'd never met before, and I was so pleased to meet them. And I probably, if I'd been playing Airsoft all day, I probably wouldn't have got to meet them. So, losing my voice now.
That was kind of me 2 years ago. This year I went camping only for financial reasons, but 2 years ago I played the whole time, partly because I was convinced by Tim that we were going to win, and we did win for the year. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. We're going to go and win the battle hard. But you're right. You do if
Bravo,
you do.
Then.
That's it. But you do miss from going out from the start day to the end. Obviously, you are going to miss some of that social interaction that you would otherwise get during the day. And I mean, the conversations I had throughout the day, yeah, absolutely, you could miss that. Andy, what's your thoughts then? As someone who's first time to NAF, will you return? Will you go camping only? Will you never return?
I mean, if we go back to the gameplay aspects of it, I'd been sort of told what to expect before we went. So I sort of thought I'd go with an open mind. The little bit I was in for, 2 hours I was in there, I'm going to keep saying it because Chris and Tate will keep having digs if I don't. I was actually pleasantly surprised. Yes, you do get the people that don't play by the rules. You get that at any skirmish day that you go to, though, at the end of the day. There will always be people that are made of Teflon and won't take any of their hits. One thing that did sort of get to me a little bit, it was a little bit confusing. They said at the start of the day, every dead zone you go to will have a clock and water in it, so you can keep topping up your water to keep hydrated because of the heat. But so the dead zone we were in at first didn't have it there. They didn't have any of the clocks or the water, so it was a bit like, well, hang on a minute. They've said all this stuff will be there, and it's not. Now, you would have been proud of me. I actually started climbing through bushes and everything throughout the day, getting into little ambush spots. And to be honest, I did enjoy the 2 hours I was out there. I was actually pleasantly surprised. But I mean, the gameplay is what you make of it at the end of the day. If you go knowing what to expect, you've just got to make the best of a bad situation, really. With 2,000 people playing, it's hard to monitor everything. The social side of it was good. That kebab shop, or whatever they call them, the proper term, that's amazing. That's well worth a visit. In fact, no, it's crap. Don't go there. Then I can eat it all. I was really disappointed. I wanted a second one on Friday in my drunken state, and they'd sold out. I mean, like, there was enough food choice to get through there. Tim knows who's there because I was running with him and his group for the day on Saturday as well when I was out in the game. It was nice to come out and get a nice ice cream as well. When
I think you're perfectly kind of right there. Is that imagine 2,000 people at any skirmish point. If you go to a skirmish site, there's 100 people and you do 20 games there, you're always going to find people that don't call their hits, and it doesn't matter what side you're on. Every side's going to have them, whether it's been purposely or whether it's intentional or by accident. Whether it's these CQB players that are now playing in Woodland who aren't kind of always used to the same type of gameplay. That I definitely think. I mean, it's your first time. Well, not first time, but you don't typically play in Woodland sites.
Yeah.
And I think that can all play a part. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the play isn't bad. I said a couple of years ago, I didn't actually have many bad engagements. If just one kind of edgy engagement where the person wasn't calling their hits. But beyond that, I thought it was a fantastic event. Then
should have just gone for a headshot, mate. That's how all those problems end. Headshots everywhere.
I would say it wasn't actually me. It was more of a guy going, "I'm going to fucking kill him. He shot my son." And as the kid was like, "I'm here," and kept going until he cried. And the dad was then going for blood. Good luck finding him in a big old bush of nothingness. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you get that many bad engagements for the numbers. I think it is typically what you'd get.
Yeah.
And I think, as Sarah said in the past, sometimes there's a big cluster of everybody. Yeah. And other times you're just walking around going, "Where's my objective? Where am I? Where should I be?
Yeah.
Where's the dead zone?"
Yeah.
You can kind of get lost in that site for sure.
I did. Oh, go on, Andy.
So I was going to say one thing I would say about the gameplay. If you're going to moan about players who are getting shot at engaging you when they're apparently in the out of bounds area, don't keep fucking shooting them because we're going to shoot you back. We had one of the marshals come up to us at the start of the day saying, "You guys are out of bounds. You need to get the other side of the road." And it's like, well, what's the point in us trying to get the other side of the road? We're going to start shooting back if we're getting shot at as soon as we step out of the dead zone. You know what I mean? There needs to be some sort of clarity around that, maybe like give people a chance to actually get out and get back in the fight before you start engaging them. In the end, we just ended up going the other way and walking off because like it just got stupid. You know, we're walking out and we're getting lit up as soon as we stepped out of the dead zone.
Yeah.
That does sound like every other skirmish I've ever been to.
Exactly. I mean, that is it. And that is the point, isn't it? I don't think that's a good thing to say. You know, at the end of the day, this is a game.
There was 2,000 people and everyone was half cut. So,
One thing I did hear as well is that they'd never been shot so many times by their own team. So people weren't even. I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious. With the armbands that you're wearing, so people just weren't even checking. They're like, "Oh, there's someone there. Oh, let's just shoot him."
Yeah,
I think everyone was just getting a bit trigger happy.
Which one? The one in the middle? Can't see.
Oh, it's just his head. Let's go for it.
The one wearing camo.
It is a pretty thick vegetation site, though. Anytime there's any engagement, it's not really clear cut. He's going to be on a road. You're pretty much fighting vegetation to vegetation from a lot of the areas. So yeah, I can imagine there is a heck of a load of overshooting because you're trying to get through shrubbery, and then a miscommunication as to who's on what team. But I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad that I know at the end of the event you said to me you had a very good time. The social was on point, and that's purely because you were out with me and Sarah. I get it. That's fine.
Even if a certain Mr. Greenwood did offer to sex me several times on the Friday night, I got a bit confused when I decided to go. All right, then here we go again.
Like, this has never worked before.
I thought my beer tasted funny.
Talking Mr. Greenwood will be joining us as a special guest next week, so I'll have to quiz him for more information.
He loved it.
Well, I'll get his side of the story next. All right. But no, I'm glad you enjoyed the event. Sarah, overall, enjoyed the event?
Loved it. Yeah, really good. Even though I didn't play, I still loved it.
Jim, obviously,
I thought the event was amazing, mate. I thought it was brilliant.
I felt like you weren't even there.
I bought a virtual ticket, you know.
I say, can we FaceTime you next time, Jim, so you can get a close-up, full action of the pub? We'll just FaceTime you in the corner.
If you FaceTime me from NAE, I will literally pull my trousers down and shit on my own phone. That's what you'll get.
Why didn't you tell me you could say ahead of time? I'd have full screened it for this recording that we're going to have.
I'm happy to reenact it at least twice a day, mate.
Well, for me, I think it's a cool event. By the end of the event, I did wonder whether I'd pay to play or just go for camping again. And there was by far more people camping than I ever realised from a social point.
Was it the tents that gave it away?
Yeah, just a few.
Way.
But yeah, I mean, I do think that there was a lot of people just sitting in their camps, and as you go around and realize there's like old friends or whatever chatting away, and they go, "Oh yeah, I've not played here for 4 years. I just come for the social." And that was definitely a lot higher percentage than I thought it was going to be. I do think, as you said earlier on, that we definitely need to make sure that Airsoft still remains a key component as to what we're there for, and have a
safety
focus
in the campsite as well, with regards to guns and dry firing, or maybe not even dry firing, putting mags in and test shooting. That really does need enforcing.
You might need to have a marshal every 20 tents away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just even just patrolling, because if people are doing it, they're going to keep doing it.
If Sarah's tank got shot at or in, right?
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, we've had it at other sites. We've been to a site before, Graham, won't name names, but we've had to end up putting our iPro on and leaving it on because
a Moscart went off in the safe zone, didn't it? Someone dry fired and then a Moscart went off in the safe zone.
Yeah.
We had a site recently, where everyone dry fired in the safe zone.
Yeah, it was like
me and Andy were like, right, I guess these stay on at all times from the car park to the game.
I mean, again, it's just using. I mean, at the end of the day, it's players using common sense and not being dickheads about it. I realise the irony in that statement, but
I mean, even at NAE, I didn't bring any of my Airsoft kit, but I did bring my iPro, and I wore them pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Because I knew that, there's always one idiot that left their mag in and put it in their pistol and didn't think about it or whatnot. And then when you got 2,600 people, those one people become a big, small army at that point of people that are going to be causing a problem in the night.
That said, though, I don't think I met anyone who was a dickhead at the weekend. The guys.
Just me, then.
Yeah, just Sarah, that was the alcohol talking, though. But no, it was like even the guys that were camped opposite us come over to us and said, "Yeah, just so you guys know, we've got a generator here going off at this time." And we were like, "Oh, well, we didn't really care, but thanks for telling us," kind of thing. So, it was that sort of atmosphere, and like, I just loved it. Like for what I was expecting, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the event, because it was just, like I spoke to you before we went in, Graham. I was saying basically, I've got to do it the once just to see what it's like, but I'll go back next year. I'm better prepared, hopefully, next year, so I might even spend more, like 2.5 hours out in the field, Tim.
I might manage half a day.
Yeah.
Well, you may not be able to play because you're pregnant from Will Greenwood.
Yeah. And incredibly hungover or still pissed. Sarah.
What? I'm saying nothing.
So, Andy, before we wrap it up for the night, anything you want to say and what's coming up with the show for you?
Personally, just want to thank everyone that made the event great at the weekend. I had a laugh. It was my first time there. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will be back next year. What's coming up with the show? Don't know at the minute. I'm waiting for people to respond to me, basically. We've got panel shows coming up at the moment, so we're going to have a couple of them. There's some good topics being suggested by previous guests. James wants me to pose with his teddy for him as well. He was upset that we didn't do that, Graham.
Oh, yes.
I just want to get that one out of the way. But yeah, at the moment, I've got some filming planned in a couple of weeks as well, so the YouTube stuff will hopefully start to kick off a little bit with the kit reviews and stuff, and it's all stuff that I own as well, so people kind of accuse me of being biased when I review it.
Are you going to have your own NAF episode out? I didn't really.
I mean, I'll probably just use this one, to be honest. I release this and then it gets you guys out to more people who maybe don't necessarily yet listen to
please
Airsoft Radio.
That copyright strikeout. Very cool.
But yeah, I mean, really and truthfully, the reason I say that is because we've covered everything I was going to say here. I don't see what other ground we could really cover with NAF or NAE or Airsoft Festival National or whatever they decide to call it next year. You know, I'll be interested to see what next year holds for sure. With it, barrel socks. Oh, can I quickly grab something out of the cabinet because I've got an alternative to barrel socks quickly that I've been sent while we're here.
Go for it. Go for it before you go, Sarah.
If he comes back with a cock sock, I'm out.
Rainbow one.
Now, barrel socks were something that obviously.
I would say before you go on, based on for anyone in the podcast, someone just asked, should there be barrel socks at NAE, given the amount of dry fire and stuff that was just happening and we were talking about. So go on, Andy. What have you got there?
Yeah, this has been sent to me by a guy from the States. I've actually got a barrel sock as well, courtesy of Amped Airsoft. But as an alternative for those Milsim Elites, a guy sent me this. It's called, what's it called?
Ooh.
So
Trigger Safe.
So this is a trigger guard.
Yeah, so it literally just slots on there. This one's actually made for an AR-15 platform, so it's a little bit narrow, so it's pushing it out slightly. But he is working on a 416 variant, and the idea is that you can't really engage any firing modes, and you can't physically get into the trigger anyway. So it's an alternative to the barrel socks. I think it's a great idea. I just don't know whether it'll be interesting to see what people think. I'm going to show it to other people over the coming weeks, but this is the first opportunity really I've had to show people it in person. So just wondered what people thought of it.
I definitely would like to grab a photo of that and I'll put it on the feed to grab people's opinion of it for sure. Yeah. It's a cool idea.
I've got a few if you want one. I can give you one for AR platforms. I've got a few spare at the moment, so yeah.
Well, we can talk off the show for sure. I mean, it's a cool idea. I just don't know how many players would actually bother using it, how many sites would bother enforcing it. Yeah. I think, Jim, we had this discussion before about airsoft socks.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy any. Just at the end of the day, if you can't not finger your gun and just like, if you're one of those people that's just got to incessantly pull the fucking trigger on it, just go drown yourself in a bucket of piss. I just don't know why people find it so difficult to just leave their guns alone. And like, if you're going to go and test it, go test it in a safe area. You know, just don't be a knob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, is there anything you'd like to say before you close off?
No, not really.
Events planned in the future?
I'm going to the weekend at Reaper Ops.
Oh, this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to be marshalling and camping and probably drinking. So yeah, that's what I've got coming up.
Very cool. Jim, what you got planned coming up for you? Obviously, I presume you'll
be at the event.
Yeah, perfect. And for anyone who's watching the show on the video there, I think there's a perfect result of people saying about not using their finger on the trigger.
Yeah.
We're all adults. We should be able to not be able to pull the trigger there.
We're all adults that play airsoft. That's the problem.
we're all adults that play plastic toy soldiers.
Gotta touch it. Gotta touch it.
Yeah, that's it. Andy,
what are you up to this weekend?
I'm on a slight hiatus between the last two events, killing me and my wallet. I have a little one on the way, so we're having to be very careful at the moment. So
I thought you were looking a bit bigger than normal, Graham.
Yeah, man. I thought it was the Guinness, but the doctors have clarified it's not the Guinness. So good news, Guinness is on the menu. But yeah, no games right now being planned. I'm still looking and scheduling for sure. Got some event coming up in December that I'm looking forward to, but I'm hoping to get out a game or two before then. That is us done for the week, guys. Thank you, and girls, thank you so much for watching Airsoft Radio this week. Next week we'll have Will Greenwood on the show. apparently he works for ASG or something like that. Not too sure. Still waiting for him to rock that Evo. We'll find out for next week why he's rocking their Evo. But Andy, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it,
Thanks
guys.
for having me, buddy.
No worries at all, guys. Definitely make sure you check out the Instagram, the Facebook, and the website of the Chairsofter Show. Andy, what's the handles? Go with it.
Instagram at the Chairsofter Show, Facebook.com/the Chairsofter Show, and then the podcast you can find iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. You've got gopod.me/the Chairsofter Show for other apps that I didn't even know existed. And then failing that, you can just go directly to the chairsoftershow.co.uk and all the episodes are there.
Very cool. Highly recommend it. Very fun podcast. Almost as good as us.
Well, it's so good. You're both wearing the same T-shirt. So
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Again, this needs to stop happening, Graham. We need to start coordinating.
Very cool. Well, Andy, thank you so much for coming on the show, guys. And girls.
Guys.
Definitely go check it out. And we shall see you again next Monday right here on Airsoft Radio. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.